Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Cole from Salty Love Sport Fishing, and I just wanted to go through a little walkthrough on this 1964 13-foot Boston Whaler. I've been getting a lot of questions about it after the short that I made, and figured I'd give you a little rundown, and I'll end up just linking everything together that I ended up doing on this boat in the description box below. Starting with the outside, I did a total boat barrier coat on the entire boat after sanding it down, and finished it off with an Interlux paint. It was all rolled and tipped, nothing crazy. Ended up doing bottom paint on the boat because it stays in the water where we are at our lagoon. So it's got total boat, bottom paint, and then Interlux, regular paint on the hull side. And going into the inside of the boat, I ended up using a Rhino liner that is tinted white. So it was all spray on, and it was actually fairly easy to use. It was about 8 bottles total, so I can, like I said, I'll link all the stuff that I used in it, but it was all spray on, pretty easy to use. It's just Rhino liner like you would get in your truck bed. So it's all really durable. We've been using the boat for probably about 2 years now, and it's held up really good. So it's water resistant. It's really good stuff. Really good grip on it instead of doing like a traditional non-skid. Coming up to the front, basically, I kind of hid everything inside it, and everybody asks me about the center console setup. And like I said, I will put the console in the description of where I got it. It was like a marine fiberglass company that I got right offline. I'll put the dimensions in there and everything that I got, but everything electronics wise is inside that console. I have the battery mounted in there on a flat piece of Starboard that I ended up, you can see where the screws are. There is a piece of Starboard on the bottom of this console because it's hollow when you get it, and I ended up just bolting down, screwing right into the bottom of the boat through the Starboard into the bottom of the boat, and just mounting it down. It's got 5200 ball on it too, and just making the bottom so that way you can at least house the battery and everything that's inside. Other than that, the rigging tubes that I used are just your generic like pull and spa tubes, just to run all the rigging, just to make it a little cleaner. I got those right at Home Depot. It's nothing crazy. They're the one is like a 2-inch, the other one's like an 1.5-inch tube. That's it. So I can show you once we get into the console a little bit, but coming from the inside of the console, I ran those wires up through the rub rail to get up to this bow light. So I went from inside all the way to the transom, down the rub rail, into the front to get to the bow light. That's how I clean that up just a little bit. And coming into the hatch here is another piece of Starboard. I mean, we just keep our, flip-flops and a little manual bilge pump in there, stuff like that. And I just made that. I just took a template off of the original piece of wood that was there and cut out a piece of Starboard for that. The console itself, I put a small little Garmin in here. Nothing crazy. It was like $100. I'll link that down in there too. Just gives you the basic, depth finder and a little bit of charts in there. It was like $100 or so. Bluetooth audio, Boss audio speakers, head unit, and 2 speakers on each side of the console, and just the Blue Sea Marine system switch panel. So coming down into here, it gets a little tight, but this is where I have my battery, switch panel, and my fuse box over there. Not the cleanest. I also can't get fully in there. It was very clean when I first built the boat, but then working on things over time, I obviously had to cut some zip ties, and it looked all pretty when I first built it, but having to replace a battery and all that stuff, I kind of had to cut some stuff away, so it doesn't look as pretty as when I first built it, but it still works. Everything's still good. This is the smaller version of the Wise cooler seat. It's, I believe, 54 quarts. The original one is 75. This is the little smaller version, and obviously, as you can see, it works out pretty good for this boat. Same deal. I put Starboard on the bottom of it, 5200, then down onto the deck just to mount it so that you don't fly off. This obviously moves both ways, so that way you can, when you're sitting here at the sandbar like we are today, you can hang out with your buddies at the back, or kind of either way that you end up wanting to sit on the boat. Normally as well, to get maybe a third person in the boat, because you can fit two there pretty comfortably, we have like marine bean bags, and we put another beanbag chair up in the front and lean it up right here, and somebody else could sit in the front of the boat. Moving to the back of the boat, I got this spun cylinder type fuel tank, also off of Amazon. Pretty cheap. I'll link it down in the description. It's a 7-gallon tank, and I just rigged it up with a fuel water separator, and it works out pretty good. It at least takes up this void in the transom of the boat, so that way you're really not wasting space. I mean, because traditionally you'd have the fuel tank up underneath the bench seat, or something like that, and I mean, this just kind of gets it up out of the way. I ended up just mounting a bilge pump underneath the fuel tank itself, so same deal. Wires coming out of the rigging, coming right down in, and I put the bilge pump. You can hear it running right now. You can pull the plug on these things, run it as like a self-bailing boat, but I mean, I leave it on the water, so I just added the bilge pump to it just for extra safety. For the engine that we have on it, it's a 40 horse 2000 Johnson, and it is a 20-inch shaft, which originally on these boats you needed a 15-inch shaft. And as you can see, if you know whalers, they have the cutout that's in the transom there. Obviously, you need to jack that motor up if you're going to go with a little bit more of a modern engine on it, even though this is a 2000, but they don't make these 2000s with a 15-inch shaft. So I ended up getting a jack plate for it, and it works perfect. And that was like, again, probably under $100, somewhere around there. And I haven't had any issues with it. All I did when I mounted it was I put a piece of aluminum. It was I think it was a 1/4-inch stock, just aluminum plate that I ended up putting on the back side of it, just to, for the mating surfaces. Engine works good, stuff like that. 40 horses. There's plenty of power on it. That was the maximum for it. I'd say you probably could get away with doing anywhere from a 25 to a 40 horse on it, and you'll be absolutely fine. So if you have any questions, reach out. Leave us a comment, leave us a like, and I'll get back to you with any questions that you have. Hopefully this answers some questions for you, and I will link everything in the description box below that I used, and if you come up with other things that I need to add to it, just let me know, and I'll add those as well. Thanks, guys.